So what we're praying for, we're praying for, and I never thought that but this is important. We're going to pray for children replenishment. We're praying for the children that are being born now moving forward. We're praying for children to be born blessed, and you know how Moses was a beautiful child, and that they did not destroy him but Moses had even from infancy, there was something about him that caused his parents to know we have to save this child. So I'm praying for children, many, many, many children to be born. Okay, I hear it. Let me see. I don't know who that was, so let me just put everybody on mute. Somebody's phone is doing that noise. No idea which one it is. Okay, just hold on one second. Got a lot of people on here. Thank you, Jesus. We have a lot of people on this prayer line. All right, okay. So, for many children to be born, replenish, please write this down. Praying for many children to be born with blessed already, blessed in the womb. So many children to be born blessed in the womb. We're praying for the replenishment of humanity. Just like you can be born and individuals can be born and they come with some kids are born where there was violence prior to their birth, and whatever the residue of that was, it affects the child. They come already, crying, agitated babies, all kinds. We're praying for blessed, healthy children to be born, sound minds. We're asking God we are praying for salvation into entire households, so that the children can come into a situation where God is already present. They can grow up in the admonition of the Lord. So we're praying for households right now to be saved, households to have peace, have the love of God in them, and that can start with anywhere. They don't have to have been going to church 50 years before that. God can change households overnight. So we're praying for households to be saved. Mother, father, all the kids, the dog and the cat and the bird, everybody saved. Okay. Silencing the tools of the enemy. So we're praying for a release, instant reduction and an impact on drug addiction, alcoholism, anything that would separate a couple and not allow them to stay together to raise their family, adultery, anything that would come in, any doors the enemy would try to open, that those doors be closed to not affect, so that those households can be solid and grow in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. The households can be able to raise children that know God, because they're being exemplary of who the Lord is. So we're asking God to restore marriages right now, especially those that have been impacted by COVID, to restore relationships, to restore marriages, forgiveness, coming back together. So you know how 1 + 1 = 2, but in a marriage, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 equals a whole kingdom beyond what individuals could be by themselves. It gives them opportunity to create. They come up a microcosm of a little community. So we're asking him to silence the tools of the enemy, anything that will come to steal, kill, and destroy families, individuals, people, and that includes all the vices that the enemy tries to introduce. We're shutting those down. We're praying against them. Come against them in the spirit realm before they start manifesting. Come against them in the spirit realm, and then cut off the supply. So cut off the supply so that people stop wanting. There'll be a reduction in liquor stores, and people stop wanting to drink, and they'll stop wanting to drink when they have hope. So you see how it's all interconnected. So we have to start breaking and chopping that chain of destruction in several places. So you start praying for that now. We're asking, silencing the tools of the enemy. Also put down on your list, we want the Lord to send in these new babies that are coming, and this new and I don't want to call it a flood, new flesh, new flood of children. We're asking for him to send David's courageous king and priest, courageous David's. We're asking for the Lord to send Daniel's, consistent prayer warriors that are wise and saturated in wisdom, prophetic interpreters of dreams, but have vision for a country, and influencers of leadership, if not already in leadership themselves. So we're asking for the Lord to send Daniels. We're asking for God to send Josephs. Joseph's, same thing. Joseph's visionaries, prophetic gifts, what's the word I'm looking for? Chase in the Lord, loving God, and being very wise and being able to give counsel to leadership. Joseph's, pick people that were picked for purpose in the womb before they were even born. Picked for purpose in the womb. We're asking for Abigail's. I keep talking about her, but she's a problem solver. She is willing to go wherever is necessary to get it pulled together. She's willing to repair relationships, to bridge areas that people normally would have an issue, and she's able to come together and bring this piece together with that piece and humble herself to go across party lines, to go across community lines to make it work. Abigail is not worried about who did this and keeping track. She's understanding the big picture, and she's a wise woman, but she's very humble, very, very smart, and wealthy. Abigail. Esther's. Send Esther's, women that are not afraid to speak truth to power, and it could be men or women that are not afraid to speak truth to power, that will, and that have means. They're born with means. It's going to be something that's going to be part of their wealth, is part of their DNA. They're going, some people, anything they touch turns to gold. This Esther is one. Esther's one of those people that, even though she was a queen, when it got time to handle business, Esther got with the program. Okay, you pray 3 days. I'm gonna pray 3 days. We're gonna get this together. She faced the music, and she got down to the point. She did the nevertheless moment. If I perish, I perish, but I gotta go in. Esther's, things stay straight when somebody's willing to stand on the wall, stand on the line, stand up, and not, it's nothing. You write that down on your paper. It's nothing worse than a wimp. Nothing worse. It's nothing worse. Can't think of nothing worse than a wimp, because that person will sell their soul to save themselves, and they have no courage. They have no integrity. They'll just do anything and just follow anybody. No backbone whatsoever. I could respect Paul. Paul was doing the wrong thing, but he was doing it with zeal. Until then, when Jesus interrupted him on that road to Damascus, guess what? All that zeal and all that courage and all that knowledge got shifted in a different direction, and Paul was on the right team. But Paul had his heart, just like David. Paul had heart. He had courage. He was strong in his spirit. So that's the same thing we want. Anyway, I got off track. Esther. Send Esther's. These are these new babies that are coming. Send Nehemiah's. Send Nehemiah. What's great about Nehemiah is he stayed focused on his job. He knew he had a job to do. He didn't let the little okie dokies take him off the wall, like Jackie used to tell me all the time. Stay up on the wall, Nehemiah. Same thing. Don't get distracted by little sidebar conversations. That's not your agenda. Nehemiah got the job done, and he got the job done under turbulent circumstances. Politics is a great example. Getting the job done when you in the midst of, now that was me, I'm sorry. I turned my tablet off. Nehemiah got the job done. It was political. And come let us sit down and meet somewhere to talk. Talk about what? You're not supplying not one brick, not one piece of mortar, and you want to talk. See, that's anyway. I'm just so glad I'm saved. So glad. People should just be so happy. Anyway, Nehemiah was wonderful. Nehemiah did not pay attention to the outside noise. He went in and he handled business, and that was so important. So what he didn't do was get distracted. And the enemy taunts you. Like you might be doing something and the enemy will taunt you and cause you to get off track, and that's why you can't respond. Stay on the point. Stay focused on what you have to do. That's why we want babies coming in with that Nehemiah concept, understanding. And you can tell, because there's some kids that will do the right thing whether you're watching them or not. It's some that as soon as you get around the corner, you ain't even around the corner, and they up out their seat, jumping around, acting crazy. But as some kids will do exactly what you tell them to do, they follow instruction. So Nehemiah was handling this business. We want Deborahs, asking God to send Deborahs, good judges, good wisdom, able to have politics. That is not a dirty word if you don't have a dirty politician. So we were praying for good judges, good politicians, sound men and women that can judge correctly, that will not be tainted or bought or sold. That's different, but they can't be bought or sold. And then we're asking for Solomon's, wise men and women that are wise in the things of God and wise in the things of resources, because you can't do anything without resources, and great work takes great resources, great planning and great resources. So that's what we're asking. So that's what we want, people to transform now, but we also want the next generation to come in with the blessings. We're praying in babies that are just not even barely are not even conceived yet. But God is the one that fixes the order. When children come in, God is the one that sets it in line. So we're praying that we're praying seeds of a blessing for the next generation, and seeds of a blessing on communities to heal, and seeds of a blessing. And let me just tell you this, you're not going to get blessed calling women out their names, women not being dressed, not butts hanging out, men, their pants sagging off their behinds, angry, carrying guns. You're not going to get blessed. That's called a curse. You can call it a trend or a culture or whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, when you have that, just because you put music to it or whatever else they're doing, that is not a blessing. So we can do all the, what are they trying to do? Defund the police you want. That's not the problem. Because until you get this situation home together, until we start pulling our pants up, dressing like we planning to handle some business, understanding how to build out our own communities, understanding how to educate, every little child should be educated. Because just because it says freedom, we're not free. We're not free. We just got out. I plan to get on this today, but Jim Crow and Willie Lynch, that stuff was 50, 60, 70 years ago. That's like yesterday. That's nothing. We're not free. There's much more that has to be done. People, literacy should be something we crave. Literacy and education be something we should be chasing. We should be filling out every single university, studying on Saturdays. When these kids pop out of high school, they need to be brilliant. Because you know why? Because it costs somebody for you to even have an education, for you to even be able to go into the school, for you to be able to vote, for you to be able to read, because they used to cut your tongue out or cut your foot off or cut your hand off if you tried to write, blind you if you were trying to read. And there was some cruel things happen during times of slavery. We're not that far out of slavery. So we're not that far. We're definitely not that far out of the black signs and the white signs and all that. I'm not trying to bring that back up, but I'm just trying to say we need to be chasing after knowledge, chasing after education. Don't sit down on the side of the road. We ain't home yet. You didn't get there. We're not there yet. So don't let people be telling black men and women, brown men and women, white men and women, whomever, don't let somebody tell you to kill your child. Do you know why I know you know this already. I'm just saying it real fast. Planned Parenthood was designed by a woman that was trying to thin out the black race. It's all in the history books. That's how it started. So how are we supporting that? Children from a blessed family they're not a curse to anybody. If you however many children you have, if you can educate them, if you can feed them, you can raise up wonderful men and women that can change communities, that can change society, then you're being a blessed person. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we are doing is making it comfortable. There's no advancement. There's been no advancement just because people are getting rid of their children. That's no advancement. There's nothing good has come out of that. Stop killing the children. Bring healthy children. Put your communities together. Put your families together, and live and create wonderful environments. Know about the school system. As children aren't a burden, they're a tremendous blessing. So here again, how does God see wealth? How does God see wisdom? How does God build a community? That's your marching orders right there. That's what you want to do. Unless God builds a house, they labor in vain. The same thing with a city, same thing with a community, and same thing with a country. Unless God's got his hand in it, and that's what we're praying for, God to have his hand in it. So here we go, ready to read our these particular scriptures are actually a straight lesson plan on what needs to happen. So that's why we're reading them. And then when you're reading on Solomon, which one is this? 1 Kings chapter 4. When you're reading that, realize that he details. I just skipped over some verses, but there was great detail on who was his core group of leadership, who he had in place. All of that was very detailed. I'm sure somewhere else why he picked them and what they were doing and the people under them. Solomon was organized, key point, and very knowledgeable about what he was doing. So nothing was arbitrary. He wasn't a gamble. He was a planner. And he was a detailed planner, and he had very good knowledge on what we're getting ready to read right now. So those attributes, same thing. It's the same thing has to exist everywhere in a business, in a community, in an individual, etc. That's the same. Those are the same features.